Okay.
Well, here we are. Good afternoon. Hello, everybody. Good evening, good morning, wherever you're listening, watching. I'm John Thielon. This is Doc G over here. And we've got our friend Doogie White. Doogie White. Yeah. Don't know if you know Doogie, but, well, we kind of do. He is a Scottish rock vocalist, man. You may have heard him around in such groups like, Richie Blackmore's Rainbow, Yngwie Malmsteen, his group, Rising Sun. This guy, I have to tell you, you want some hard driving, some real freaking awesome rock and roll. Here's your guy. He's a vocalist. He does it all. He's from festivals and concerts in the summer to all kinds of venues in the colder weather. Folks, here he is. Big say hello from Doc G and John T and the whole Hamilton Radio group. Doogie White. Hey, Doogie, what is up?
I am very well. It's funny that you're in Hamilton. I was born in a town called Motherwell, and I used to play football in Hamilton, which is just over the River Clyde from Motherwell.
It's amazing. Hamiltons are everywhere. That's what I said years
everywhere.
ago.
Yeah,
everywhere.
It's an old rivalry, the old Hamilton Motherwell.
It's shocking. It can be, especially when it comes to football or soccer.
Yeah.
It can, rough.
I tell you what, as you probably know, we've got some ravenous American football fans, but I have never seen passion and just raving fans like soccer football. Just wow.
Yeah, it's split down certain lines, especially in Scotland.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your upbringing, how you got into music and stuff.
Well, I used to go in Motherwell, in my hometown. It was a steel town,
right?
And I came from a very normal background. Everybody worked in the steelworks or was associated with the steelworks, in one way or another. And there were many churches around, and I used to go to one called Clayson Memorial Church, and we had a youth fellowship that was there. You were part of the guys went to the BBs, which was the Boys Brigade, and it was all, the community was, when you couldn't go to pubs, your community was kind of based around going to church.
Right.
And we had the youth fellowship, and I think lots of us kept going because we were just at that hormonal age where they were pretty, where the girls were getting pretty and the boys were getting handsome, or randy, if you like. The girls were getting pretty and the boys were getting randy. And but at weekends we used to have a Saturday night, and we would split off. The girls would go to one ante room, and the guys would go to another one. And we always brought in records. And I was a big David Bowie fan.
Yes.
And a couple of the guys decided they were going to have a band together. Now, strangely, both of them were called Kenneth Johnston. One with an E and one without an E. And the one without an E, he was a keyboard player. And the one with an E, who's my oldest friend, he was a drummer. And they had a band together. I mean, we were 14 or something, And
that's usually when it starts, like 12.
And I wanted to be a guitar player, but I never had the discipline because I wanted to be Evel Knievel or Bruce Lee, or I was busy climbing trees or something crazy.
Yeah.
But they heard me singing in the youth fellowship and the praises of the Lord, and they had a rock and roll band, and there was a guy around at the time. His name was Larry Norman. I don't know if you remember. Larry Norman was a Christian one-way guy. Him and Randy Stonehill, and they had a song called "Why Does the Devil Have All the Good Music?" And
wow,
what year was that? Was that back in the early?
That'd be the mid '70s.
Okay, all right.
And of course, as soon as I heard Richie Blackmore and Tony Iommi and Ian Gillan screaming, and it's not that I turned away from One Way. It's just that the devil doesn't have all the good music. Listen to this,
right?
This is great. Only heavenly intervention could make men like that play that well, and it was great, and I loved it. I'm a frustrated guitar player, and I love the sound of the guitar, and I wish now in my sort of middle age that I had the discipline to do it, because you get to a point in life where you just can't do these things anymore.
Yeah,
Like if you get a new mobile phone, I can give it to my 9-year-old goddaughter and she can have it up and running in about a minute and a half. And I'm 3 days sitting here with an iPhone 12 thinking, where's the button? There's no button. How does this work? Darling, how does this work? You know, it's mental.
Welcome home, Doogie. Welcome home. Welcome to my world. Yay!
God, it's terrible. We'll get on to getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the small room later. But so that's when I decided that I really liked singing, and I loved. The first album I ever heard was "Come Taste the Band" by Deep Purple. That was the first Deep Purple album I ever heard, and I loved the blend of the voices between Glenn Hughes and David Coverdale, and so the next week, Kenneth Johnson, Kenny, my oldest friend, brought up "Burn," which was the first one with Coverdale, and I heard Richie Blackmore play, and I went, "Oh my God!" And you like that? Here's Made in Japan, which was the same band but with a different singer.
Right.
So it transformed my world. And I mean, I never really got out in 1975, 76. You know,
good for you, man. For me, it's 78. I
just kind of get stuck there.
Yep.
I mean, some of the people in the band. See, that's what I was talking to John earlier. I said it's a lot. The people love the band, but they didn't know the musicians in the band. And I always thought that was so bad, because people like John Lord, what an incredible person, keyboardist, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I was very fortunate clearly before John died. What was I thinking? I did. A friend of mine was John's singer when John had left Purple, and he was off doing orchestras, and he was playing music that he had written, some Purple material and some from the Concerto for Group and Orchestra. And my friend Steve Balsamo, he had to go away. He was doing support to Elton John at Wembley Stadium, don't you know? Okay. And so he recommended me to John, and John and I did 3 orchestral concerts together, and that was such a discipline for me. It was absolutely terrifying. You know, I had to do Child in Time, Soldier of Fortune, and
great songs.
Somebody's Shouting, Pictures of Home, and I know them, but you've got a 70-piece orchestra behind you, and I've got to watch the wee guy going, and they don't tap in time, the conductors. You know, all this stuff means different things to different people.
Yes, that's
right. I'm a 1, 2, 3, 4 guy, and you're in. You know, so it was terribly nerve-wracking. But John was great with me, and we had a good time together, and we did well. You know, it was very nerve-wracking for me, but he had a very calming influence, and what he said to me was, "If Richie Blackmore trusted you, I'll trust you."
Beautiful.
That's incredible. John, do you have any questions for Doogie?
Well, you know, and I always like to ask this one. I think this is going to end up, Gene, Doogie, I think it's going to be my trademark question. Tell me about some of the folks with whom you worked musically who were really, really good folks, good people, you know, folks that, I don't know, for whatever reason, you just may not think or know about or even realize that, hey, you know what, that guy, he's a pretty good egg, you know, and you'd never know.
Well,
there's so many he can say.
I know, but there's so many misconceptions, and people people do play up to their images. I always go on. I mean, Blackmore's got Richie's got such a terrible reputation as being being a fiery character, you know, and a standoffish person. He's not. He's just shy. You know, he doesn't want to be. When you've been asked the same question 1,000 times that month, it must become tedious.
Yeah.
But I always got on well with these guys because I had respect for them, and I have a little bag that Richie gave me years ago, and I just put my ego in that. Whenever I'm going off to,
Check
whether
it
it's
in,
with
yeah.
Yngwie Malmsteen or
Yep.
Michael Schenker or whoever, I get this wee bag and it's got wee moons on it. It's away with my, because we're not doing any gigs just now, so it's in my tour bag up in the loft. And I just bring it down and I just put my ego in there and say, darling, hold on to that for me and I'll be back for it in a month or 2 months. And because it's the only way to work, because it's not my name that's selling the tickets. I mean, I'm good at what I do, or I wouldn't do, or I wouldn't get the jobs that I get.
Of course.
I'm easy to work with. I learn my lines and I turn up sober, and I don't have an attitude. You know, I don't request. I don't ask for very much. You know, it was funny because I had never done a big tour when I joined up with Richie. I'd never done a big tour before. I'd never had my own spotlight, so I had two. One for there, one from there, and I had three, and one from behind me.
Oh my! And
they said, "What would you want in your rider?" And I said, "I've got what is a rider?" And they said, "Well, that's, you know, every night at a gig you can ask for whatever you want." And it's right. Well, at the time I had godchildren who were just wee kids, and so I was sending them postcards from everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I asked for half a dozen postcards and half a dozen stamps.
Nice.
I was told to bugger off.
No.
So I said, well, can I get a bottle of Jack Daniels? And they went, there you go.
Can you figure?
I didn't know. I mean, you don't know, but you don't know these things, but you learn very quickly because you have to. And so it was a learning curve for me. Although I had been doing it for about 10 years before I joined up with Richie, I had never been in that environment where everything was done for you.
Right.
And it kind of makes you, it kind of infantizes you a wee bit, and because you don't have to do anything, you turn up, and so long as you know your words and you're sober, you just get on with it.
Yeah.
You know, and so I've tried to I've enjoyed it all, you know. And that's so good. To answer your question, I think I've got on with everybody that I've worked with, even when it's ended. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it ended with Richie, it ended with Yngwie. It's on hiatus just now with Michael Schenker as well. But I don't see, you know, when people don't want to work with you anymore, it's a bit like your girlfriend telling you she doesn't want to go out with you anymore. There's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do. That's right.
There's nothing you can do. And I don't, you know, people say, well, what do you think of what Yngwie's doing now? And I mean, the honest truth is that I've got no idea what Yngwie's doing now, because I find that a bit creepy. You know, you know, it's a bit like stalking your girlfriend when she's got a new boyfriend.
I was just going to say, you don't want to be hovering like, ooh, looking at.
Well, I'm not curious enough.
Right.
It's not that I don't care, and it's not that it doesn't leave you a little bit wanting, because everybody feels when you leave. I mean, I left Richie. I had to leave Rainbow, and that was heartbreaking for me because
sure.
I wouldn't have done it had situation not arisen that I really felt that, you know, I can't do this anymore.
So would it be safe to assume that whole scenario went stone cold? Thank you very much.
That was good, John.
Thank you.
It wasn't.
I keep them around.
I know. It kind of hurts right over here. I know. I had to do it.
It kind of does. It kind of does.
No, I know. I get it.
But you have to do. But there's no point in moaning, bitch, about it. You know, if because what guys like Yngwie and Richie and Michael have done throughout their careers is change the players in their band, because that keeps them fresh.
Of course.
I understand
that keeps them fresh.
I understand that.
When they have new blood to come in and work with and get inspired by. And if I'm part of, they gave me something, which was the opportunity to write great songs with them and to perform amazing concerts on many, many different occasions.
That's humongous.
And if
that is huge.
So if they gave me that, if I give them something back, which is loyalty, and
you can see how loyal you are. Yes.
My
what you're talking
and my passion, because at the foremost of my mind, I'm a fan, right? I mean, I've been doing this a long time, but I'm still a fan. And so when I go into a situation like that, I kind of look at it and I think, well, as a fan, what would I like to see and hear? Now, my idea as a fan, wanting to see what I wanted to see with Rainbow or with Schenker, might be different from somebody else's, but it was always done with the best intentions for the people who were paying the money to come and see
right.
us.
That's it. That's it.
That's incredible. But Doogie, I got to say that a lot of my friends, Phil Hatton, of course, is friends with Jeff Lynne for 30 some years. I mean, just to go off a little bit, you know, Bev Bevan was a drummer with ELO, and ELO, you know, has changed their members over the years too. And I'm not saying that it wasn't good. I just don't feel that it was the same type of band. Did you get that as they were refreshing members, that the band, everybody's bringing different choices and different songs to the band that they did when the original Blackmore's thing was there, Rainbow was there?
No, I don't. Well, I don't know, because when I joined Richie, when I joined Yngwie, and when I joined Michael Schenker, everybody was new.
Wow.
You know, it had been a clean sweep of absolutely everybody. You know, Richie had been with Deep Purple for 9 or 10 years, and he put a new band together. Yngwie had just taken on new management. He had a clean sweep of everybody. Michael had decided to get away from the Michael Schenker group, and we put together, he said to me, listen, we should really get a band together, you and I. We're creative, we create well together. Let's get a band together and call it Temple of Rock. So that's what we did. And it was Michael, Herman Rarebell, and Francis Buchholz from the Scorpions, and Wayne Finlay, who at that point had been the longest surviving member of anybody who'd ever played with Michael Schenker.
Wow.
You know, I think he'd been there for 14 years non-stop.
Oh my.
You know, so he had a background. He was a great keyboard player, great guitarist, great singer, and a lovely, lovely man.
Okay. The other question I wanted to ask you, you said you like David Bowie. Was there something about the band or David Bowie or the music? It was just everything.
I think the world changed, and especially in the UK, I would say the world changed in July 1972. There was a TV show over here called Top of the Pops, and I'm sure you'll be able to find this on YouTube somewhere. And he came on and he did Starman, and that was a Thursday night. And on Friday, everybody at school was talking about David Bowie doing Starman on Top of the Pops. Come Monday, everybody came in and we all had sticky up hair. You know, we all had the Ziggy Stardust haircut. By the following weekend, we were all walking around in our pajamas and we'd stolen our mother's kinky red boots.
Oh my!
Yeah, see, the impact of music does do that to people.
But it completely changed everybody. That one performance completely changed everybody.
Well, and I can remember similar things happening over here in the mid to late 70s, you know, Saturday Night Live, back when it was actually, you know, entertaining musically and funny. They would have all these acts on. And I remember the one Monday after Saturday Night Live when Devo was on.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, man, everything was Devo this, we are Devo, whip it good, you know, DEVO, and we're running around like this, like they did on stage. And then the next week it was somebody else, and the next week it was somebody else. You're right. The music, it even if it just glances off of you, so to speak, it does resonate. It does have a tendency to resonate, and that's what I like about reading up on you, Doogie, is that, you know, there's not just one place or one group or one thing that you've done. It's
many.
It's you know, it's like that guy plays baseball for 20 years, which is not common. But like Nolan Ryan, the great pitcher, you know, he was on numerous teams throughout the years. New York Mets, Houston Astros, California Angels, blah, blah, blah. And he was fantastic, but he was different each and every time he was there, but he was just a master. He was a craftsman. He loved what he did. You know, I'm getting the same kind of a musical version of that vibe, Doogie, with you, and reading up and then remembering, hearing some of these things that you were a part of. You know, what I have to say, what was, or ask, I should say, what were some of the best, you know, most memorable, maybe not necessarily best, but most memorable experiences through all these stops along these different teams, these different bands?
Well, I think the first time, it's always when it's the first time, you know, because you normally do 6 gigs a week, so you have 3 on, 3 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, and going to different places for the very first time, going into a venue for the very first time, having jet lag while trying to shave in Japan, right?
Oh boy, wow, yeah.
You know, and it's like standing in marshmallows, and that's why I don't shave anymore, you know. It's a dangerous business, you know. And I mean, Japan was extraordinary for me, and still is. I mean, I absolutely adore going there just because they drive on the same side of the road as we do in the UK, so it's that's fantastic. That's kind of safe.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of strangely different. I mean, not to be too weird about it, but they have something about toilets, right? They have something about.
Please
toilets.
tell me, because I've never been there.
Right, okay.
I'm interested. I am interested. Please, you've got me. You got me hooked.
I'm all ears, as they say.
Well, they have various buttons. You're right. If we go to the toilet, you have a seat, you sit down, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. In here, in Japan, you have various buttons that you can press, so you can have your seat heated for you.
Oh.
So you can sit down. You can think, oh, press the button, and it'll heat the seat up. And you go, oh, that's good.
Wow.
But the thing, you have to remember which button to press, because if you press the wrong one, it's like having a jet hose shoved up your backside.
Oh!
Right? So you're sort of sitting there and you think, oh, it's getting a bit warm. And all of a sudden you'll be jumping off the seat. but they also have something called, oh, I'm trying to remember the name of it. But you go in, right? And and you press this button, and it's a modesty button, right? So if it's an enclosed space, you go in and you press this button, and it plays music or bird song or something, so they can't hear you.
Oh my!
You know, it doesn't. Forget putting a fan in there. You open the door, they can't hear you. But as soon as you open the door, all hell breaks loose. You know.
How you doing? Yeah, that was me. Sorry.
Doogie, that's funny. But I wanted to ask you, what was it like working with Cozy Powell? I mean, this guy is an amazing career as well. I mean, like I said, you work with so many great people.
Well, I never got to work with Cozy. I was invited to work with him on what was going to be his last solo album.
Mm-hmm.
And we met up and we had a chat, and we were going to go in and do it together. And I did the demos. But then Richie called me up and asked me to go and join Rainbow. And when I got home, Richie had left, Cozy had left 3 messages on my answer machine saying, "Where are you? Where are you? Where are you?" So of course, I had to phone him, and he was the second person I phoned. I phoned my brother first to tell him I got the gig,
right?
And Cozy was the second one, and he said, "Good luck, enjoy it while it lasts." And then we met up at the very last show I played with Richie. Cozy was playing. Cozy and Neil Murray, who had been Black Sabbath's rhythm section for a while with Tony Martin. They were playing with Peter Green from
Fleetwood Mac. Yeah.
They were playing with him, and Richie, Cozy, and I just went along to hear the stories. And they sat and we drank loads and loads of red wine and loads of beer, And the two of them just went at it as if they had only seen each other yesterday. It was brilliant, you know. And again, as a fan, just sitting there listening to them, you know, cold in some chateau in France, recording Down to Earth, and they needed some firewood, and they ended up breaking up this, you know, 16th century furniture just to get some firewood. You know, I was like, oh my God. You
That's a one-of-a-kind piece.
Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy, but it was great fun.
That's a one-of-a-kind piece, priceless. Yeah, not anymore.
Not anymore.
There it goes. That's incredible.
Wow.
But I mean, again, your career and so many careers have collided with each other. Your music, where can people find your music? On your website, right? Doogie White?
No, my website, it hasn't been updated, I was told, since 2014.
Okay. So you're like me. The same thing when how about the radio? We haven't updated it for a couple of years now.
Yeah. So I have a Facebook site. It's just Doogie White. Okay. It's just me, and that's it. So I had a new album released on. Give me a second.
Sure. Oh, yeah, your new album. Let's talk about that. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Doogie's coming back in just a minute. Anybody have any questions or comments, suggestions? You can throw them here in the Facebook chat.
Type them in the chat. Absolutely. I'm enjoying this session. I have to say. I
don't know who this person is. Nikokinik Magamko. He's probably a friend of yours, but I don't want to insult him by saying his name wrong. But he's saying a lot of stuff too. So
I don't see him, so that's okay.
He's probably a friend. That's him right there. Is that a friend?
Knock Mangampo. Knock Mangampo.
Looks like a singer. He's got a hat on.
I think he probably is. Yeah. He's talking in a different language because I'm English. I have no idea. Oh, that's a new album.
That's a solo album there. Look, it's called As Yet Untitled, and it's a cracking record. It's a re-release of an album I did 11 years ago, and I got the rights back to it just at Christmas time, and so the Store for Music contacted me and asked me if I would like to re-release it, and I said yes, I would. And they said, do you have bonus tracks? And I said yes, I do. And they said, can we have them? And I said yes, you can.
Where can we find that, by the way? You know,
the record company is called Store for Music.
Store for Music. Okay.
Store for Music.
Store for Music. Gotcha. Yeah.
So it'll be. I would imagine it'll be storeformusic.com. I should come better prepared to these things, don't you think?
We love you like you are. This is fine.
Exactly. We love it like this, and
chaos.
Back to the old, live broadcast. There's nothing like it.
A lot of scripted stuff is not there.
No, it's just let it work on the fly. This is very great, Doogie. No doubt. What else have you got in store? I mean, what are you doing currently, or what do you see coming next? That's the one.
That's the one there, right? So that's as yet untitled, right? You can see it. It's got a naked lady with the head of a bird.
God bless her.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
And it was released on a Polish record label, and the guy who designed it, I mean, he's designed a number of sleeves for me, and he's really
I like
good.
It. Yeah, it's nice, really good.
And he said, I was in Poland recording with somebody else, and he was doing the sleeve for that album as well. And he said, let's go for a drink. So we went for a drink. He said, have you met my wife? And I said, no, it's lovely to meet you. Gorgeous, gorgeous woman. He said, that's her on the front cover of your album.
Oh, gee.
Dear God, you've changed your hair. And it was,
that's funny.
So there's that. But with this, right, with this album, there it is in all its glory. You get a picture of me. You get pictures of me as well.
Beautiful.
It's got a second CD of cover versions that I did back in the 90s. There was a whole bunch of us were invited to contribute. Guys from Uriah Heep, guys from Nazareth, guys from
nice.
Gillan, guys from Whitesnake,
Nice.
FM, whole bunch of guys. And you would get a phone call on a Sunday saying, we're doing a Nazareth tribute album. Can you learn these 3 songs? And I would go in on the Friday, and I would be there at lunchtime, midday. I'd start at midday, and I'd be home in time for dinner. And I had done 3 Nazareth songs.
Beautiful.
And that's what we did. So this covers Iron Maiden. It covers the Rolling Stones,
nice.
UFO, Nazareth, Whitesnake. You know, there's a whole bunch of stuff on there, and it's a good wee package because it's 2 CDs for the price of 1. You know, you get the original one with the 2 bonus tracks, and then you get the cover version stuff, which is always good to listen to because it's different, and there's some great players. Bernie Torme's on there, and Bernie died last year, and Bernie played with Ian Gillan. He was a great guitar player. Mm-hmm. And he was the first guy Ozzy chose to replace Randy Rhoads when Randy
Rhoads passed away.
And he flew Bernie over to do that. And Bernie's great. But sadly he died. I don't think it was last year. I think it was before the pandemic kicked in. And sadly missed because I'd seen him in the November before he died. And he played a great show. You know, just a magical guitar player he was. And then you were asking what else I was doing. During the pandemic, all the touring was cancelled. I was supposed to do from March until October, end of October, with Michael Schenker to celebrate 50 years of him being in the business.
Right.
And we were due to start in Japan, and we'd rehearsed up quite heavily to do this. And then, of course, I came back from rehearsals, went and got my Japanese visa, and it was cancelled. And we were supposed to start in Japan and end in South America. So I signed up with a record label called Frontiers. Now, you'll be familiar with them. They've got almost every band on the planet at the moment. But I signed a 3-album deal with them. And this is the first one. It's the project's called Long Shadows Dawn.
Okay.
Right? Because I just thought it'd be really funny for 10,000 people to be shouting LSD, LSD at the start of the show. So that's the first album there. There's 12 songs on that. The album's called Isle of Wrath. And I wrote it with a Swedish guy called Emil Norberg. And he's a thrash metal, black metal guy. Mm-hmm. But he came up with some brilliant songs for me to work with, and fantastic guitar playing throughout the whole thing. So very proud of that as well. That just came out on Friday, and it's available on Frontiers. Again, it'll be frontiers.com. You'll be able to go there and find it if you're interested.
Okay.
And then just as I was finishing that, it goes on. I mean, we could be here all night, lads. One of my oldest friends in the music business, and a guy who I loved for many, many years, and he's still a dear friend, is a guy called Graham Bonnet.
Oh, sure, I know him.
Right?
I know him. Sure.
Yeah, Graham sang with Rainbow. He sang with Yngwie Malmsteen. He sang with Michael Schenker, and he had a band together with Yngwie Malmsteen. How bizarre! Called Alcatraz, and Alcatraz were playing up here in Scotland with the great Joe Stump as was playing guitar, and the original keyboard player Jimmy Waldo, and the original bass player Gary Shea.
Wow.
Graham didn't want to do it anymore. Him and I went out for coffee and cake, and he told me he wasn't happy and he didn't want to do it. And I asked him what he wanted to do, and he wanted to go back to the Graham Bonnet Band, where he could write and play music that he kind of makes him happy,
right?
You know, because his heart really is based in the Beach Boys and Buddy Holly, and you know,
sure.
That's his bag.
That's his gig, yeah.
That's it. That's his gig. But when he joined the rock scene, the heavy rock scene, he brought something unique. Not only visually, you know, when we were all long-haired, hippie wee guys in denim and leather, and he would come on with his short hair, his sunglasses, and his Hawaiian shirt. He brought this incredible voice and stage presence that he still has to this day. Mm-hmm. but he's in his 70s now, and I think he just wants to do something that makes him happy. And,
Right.
and I think he's got things that he wants to say that he didn't feel that he could say within the confines of what a heavy rock band can do, you know. So he left.
Okay.
And I was and just before Christmas last year, the Alcatraz guys phoned me up and asked me if I would like to fulfill some tour dates, because the last Alcatraz album they did, called Born Innocent, went to #1 in Japan and #1 in Germany, and it was top 5 in Scandinavia. I mean, it was a really well received album, but the tour dates got cancelled. So I said, well, look, let's just go and write a brand new album together. If I'm going to do this and we're going to do this together, let's write an album, and then that
Right.
exercises the ghost of the past, and it shows the intention that we're going to be going forward and how we're going to be going forward. And so that's what we did. And there are 2 songs out there. You'll want to write this down as well. Are you ready?
Here we go.
Yeah, I got my pen. Go ahead.
Hit me.
Right. On YouTube, there's 2 tunes, right? The first song we ever wrote together was called Turn of the Wheel.
Time of the wheel?
Turn.
Turn of the wheel. Okay.
Turn of the wheel.
Turn of the wheel.
Turn of the wheel. And we made a video for that during lockdown. And that'll be on YouTube. That's Alcatraz. And then we did another one for a song called Sword of Deliverance. And Sword of Deliverance is also there. Again, it was another lockdown video when we were really locked down, when you couldn't see anybody. I mean, you couldn't go out in the street.
Right.
So we've released those 2. The album comes out at the beginning of October, and we're supposed to tour over here in the UK in late October into November. With girl school, depending on how you guys say it, girl school. And so we're hopefully the virus will be a wee bit more under control than it's. I mean, it's unleashing its temper on us at the moment, isn't it?
Same thing here.
This new Delta variant, and then there's Delta variant Plus that's coming out. And I see when I'm looking around, and friends are telling me that, you know, a lot of the tours and a lot of the concerts in America are getting cancelled now because, well, if you get one guy in a bus and he's got it, or he tests positive for it, that's you. You're all going home, you know.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I mean, even Bruce
Right,
Bruce Dickinson, he's on a speaking tour over here, and he postponed 2 of his shows last week. He had 2 more shows to do. Somebody in his entourage got it, and he just announced this morning that he's got it as well.
Oh boy!
Well,
now, the interesting thing is that when people have been double vaccinated, it seems it won't protect you from this variant, but you might not be as ill and you might not die from it as if you're not vaccinated. You know, so I mean, it's just whether people are far enough down the rabbit hole. You know, they've decided they're not going to do this. You know, I mean, who knows?
Well, and this is the reason, too, Doogie, that we do things like we're doing right here, okay? Because there's that component right now, and who knows how long it's going to last, this component of, well, okay, we can't do this like we've done for so long, but we now can do that, you know, due to technology being what it is. Sure. We just an hour and a half ago just talked to some folks that we have an association with, musically speaking, who are from Australia. Well, they're so to speak camped in Cape Town, South Africa right now because Australia, they won't let them back in.
I know.
You know, they were out doing their thing, just having fun, musically performing and what have you, and all of a sudden, this thing happens and here they are with their bare faces hanging out all this time later. Now, the good news is they continue to work and do and play and create. And then we've got technology right here, you know, like what we're doing today with you, you know, to get to talk about what people like you do, people like our friends from Australia do, people like, you know, whomever else. We talked to Billy Vera from Billy Vera and the Beaters a few days ago. Same thing. You know, what are you up to, Bill? Same idea. That's why we do this, Doogie, because you know what? We want to have discussion. We want to know. We want to know. Tell me what's doing. Tell us what's doing and how we can, if we can't go see it right this minute, then we will soon enough, how we can latch onto it and grab it and enjoy it. That's the deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the longest. Well, I mean, at Christmas there, that was the longest I had been without doing a show since 1984.
Oh my! Well,
you got to take a little break on it too. But I mean, this is forced break. You really,
I mean, it's because it's enforced, and it's, I suppose, I mean, for a vocalist, it's kind of weird. I mean, a guitarist can sit and play and doodle away in his house.
Right.
And he can turn his amps on and he can still dig into the strings with his plectrum. He can still pull the strings and bend the things he wants to do. For a singer, it's a bit. I certainly find it different because it's a bit like shadow boxing. I mean, I can do as much sort of warmy uppy things and sing along. But as soon as you get in front of an audience, it's a completely different ball game. It's a bit like a boxer who's been shadow boxing all his life and goes in and gets punched in the nose for the first time. You go, well, I wasn't quite expecting that. So
everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the nose.
Well, exactly, and it's kind of like that. So I'm building up to this tour now, and I'm doing sort of half an hour every day this week, and then it'll go up to 35, 40 minutes, so that till I've built it up so that all these little muscles and chords and all the little bits in here are all working. And then what I will do is I'll rehearse the set here on my own to the backing tracks from the album, to the backing tracks from the songs that I have to learn. So that when we actually get into rehearsals, I'm up to speed, rather than just turning up and going, okay, well, I need 10 days rehearsals, because it won't work like that. So
and people don't realize this, out there in, viewer land or listener land or rock and roll fan land. They don't get that, they're just a bunch of good time rock and rollers. Well, that may be true, but, been there and very tinily done it. We all had bands when we were younger. I was in a cover band when I was in college, and we rehearsed a few times a week before we did we have our little gig, up at the fraternity house or at the dormitory, but we would rehearse, and not just show up there cold for clearly obvious reasons. And I was like you, I was the singer, know?
Right, okay.
And,
then.
Yeah, even on that little wee tiny small, scale compared to, what you folks do, same church, different pew.
Exactly, the principle's exactly the same.
We come back from summer break, and here it is now September, and our first gig is October 15th. Okay, get classes started, and this, that, and the other. Get our fraternity meetings underway and so forth, and all of a sudden, bang! We've only got 4 weeks to go. I come out of that first week of rehearsals, and my girlfriend's like, "What's wrong with you? You can barely speak." Yes, I know.
Yeah.
No, but we learn from them times, right? Doogie?
Well, either someone like yourself, Doogie. I mean, this is just standard operating procedure. But Mr. and Mrs. Average and all the rock and roll fans at sea, they don't know this. This is interesting.
Okay.
This is interesting to know.
They're not supposed to know. You're not to tell anybody any of this.
Okay.
I'm just sharing it with you.
He says, as we distribute the program everywhere, we distribute the program.
The behind the scenes stuff. It's like the Wizard of Oz. You pull back the curtain and it's always disappointing.
Right.
So it's always. But I think for any singers that are out there and who are listening and who haven't had a chance to do gigs, I mean, you've got to try and keep yourself in shape. There's nothing worse than sitting in the dressing room and the drummer's drumming, right? Yeah. Sitting in a chair.
Can't wait to get out there. Yeah.
Singers running around howling. That's, but you have to be. We have to be prepared, because if this goes, then everybody goes home anyway. You know.
There
So
you
the
go.
idea is to make sure when we come back, and when I get back on the stage again, that this is completely up to speed, so that I'm not letting anybody down,
Right.
myself included.
Yeah, I know you guys feel that way. I know a lot of musicians that feel that way. They feel like they let a lot of people down, and it's not it's not your fault, but you feel responsible because you had responsibility to be at them gigs, but you can't control that. I know there's that sense of, boy, I really wanted to play, but I can't. What can you do?
Well, I mean that rarely happen. That really happens. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough that I think over a 30-something year career, I think I've probably only ever cancelled 3 gigs.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's
big.
Very impressive.
And maybe 4. But it's normally been in America, and it's normally down to air conditioning.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, it's bad
Wow.
for me. It's bad. It's bad, and especially when it's different air conditioning, because when you're on the bus, you set your air conditioning the way that you want it, and the way that you can work with it, and the way that it doesn't dry all this out.
Sure.
When you go to the hotel, you've no control over that. You can either sit and melt in your room, but as soon as you open the door, you're in air-conditioned corridors.
Yeah.
And air conditioning is the killer for singers.
Wow.
So it's pretty bad. But it's, we can moan and complain about it all we like. Nobody gives a shit. People have paid their money. They want to come and see you do your thing, right?
Play your music. Come on, man. Here we go.
Doogie. Shut up, Doogie, and just get on with your job.
LSD. LSD.
LSD, exactly.
So now you're Scottish, right? And did you ever cross, I would say, did you ever cross something between you and maybe AC/DC? Because I know a lot of people are going to say, "Did you ask him? Did you ask him? Is he friends?" Angus Young.
No, I've never met anyone from AC/DC. I got to see them. I got to see them in 1976 in Glasgow City Halls for 50 pence.
Wow.
When they did a tour over here, their very first tour in the UK, and it was promoted by a rock and roll newspaper called Sounds, and it was called the Lock Up Your Daughters Tour.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
Here comes the rockers.
And I went along, and what was interesting was that they didn't have a support band, but they had a big screen, and it was a projector, and they projected the Rolling Stones doing Angie on the screen. It was the first time I'd ever seen Kiss.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Doing whatever they were doing at the time. And there was another band on there who I thought, wow, that guy's a bit crazy. It was Black Oak, Arkansas.
Yes. Beautiful. Oh, man. That's great stuff.
And years later, when I saw Van Halen burst onto the stage in the Glasgow Apollo, and this guy came on and was doing all this shit, I thought, wow, Jim Dandy's looking good.
Diamond Dave, man.
Diamond Dave.
Wow.
And by the way, another great guitarist, Eddie Van Halen. I'm friends with Valerie Bertinelli, his ex-wife, but his son is tearing it up now.
Yeah,
really?
Is tearing it up, and I give all of my credit to his dad, that actually was inventing different sounds with the guitars and different ways, melodic things. I don't know if you guys use the certain things that he set up, but he took the guitar to another level. There's always these guys that can do that. Yeah.
No, he did. I mean, there's no doubt about it. When you heard that, I think every guitar player, about 2 months after they first heard Eruption, were still working on the first 3 or 4 notes.
Yep.
He was somewhere else. I mean, he was just incredible.
And it became, when I started out and I was asked by my friends to join the band, any band at that point, they just wanted to know if you could hold a scream as long as Ian Gillan could at the end of Strange Kind of Woman. And that's all you had to do to get in the band. Just hold that scream.
That's another.
By the time 1980 came round, every guitar player had to play Eruption. You know, you want to be in the band? Can you play Eruption?
What?
So everybody practiced it, and then you know, about 5 years later, everybody could play it, and everybody was fed up with it. You know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, everything runs its course, right? I mean, like
does.
said, peaks and valleys, peaks and valleys.
Of course it does.
But music, it seems like when you go back to it, it still has the same peak. I mean, I love that stuff.
Yeah. Oh no! Don't get me wrong. I mean, that first Van Halen album is a benchmark. That changed the rock and roll world yet again, and continued to do so because they were very creative with what they did. You know, and the Sammy Hagar stuff's great as well. I mean, you know, Sammy's got an astonishing voice. Did a great job of it too. Yeah, astonishing stuff that he can do as well.
Yes.
So it was all really exciting then. I saw them. I only saw Van Halen once, and that's when they opened for Black Sabbath in the UK, and it was just when Ozzy was just about to be kicked out of the band. The album was either Never Say Die or Technical Ecstasy. I can't remember. I saw them on both tours, but I can't remember which one was his last one.
Right.
But I mean, Van Halen just came on and just ripped the place apart, and Sabbath came on and it was like. You know, I mean, whatever was going on back then, you know, it didn't do them any favors when you've got something as hot as that coming on before you, just ripping the place apart. Nobody heard of them. Nobody heard of Van Halen. But I'll guarantee you, in Glasgow, the next day, there wasn't a single copy of Van Halen 1 to be found anywhere. You know, every record shop would have been completely clear of it, you know, and they would have been ordering stock in. You know, everybody. It was one of those albums everybody had.
I wanted to ask you too. Do you have? Hold on, John. Do you have any eclectic tastes? Like, did you like the Beatles, or did you like a lot of different? Like, so I know a lot of my musicians are rock hard musicians, but they like reggae and they like different sounds. Do you like all that stuff, or just?
I'll tell you who my favorite band at the moment. I've got three favorite. I love a girl called Lyra Lynn.
Lita Lynn. Say Lita Ford. Okay, Lita Lynn.
Lyra.
Inside joke.
Like Vera, but with an L.
Okay.
Lyra Lynn. And I first heard her on a television show called True Detective.
Okay.
And just brilliant stuff. And I loved it so much. I went out and bought the album, and it's got Leonard Cohen on it, and it's got a whole bunch of different people on it. But she stood out for me, so I've been buying her stuff.
Nice.
And I love Dawes. Have you heard of Dawes?
Oh, you mean with Jim Morrison?
No,
Dawes.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Dawes. Oh,
Dawes.
No.
Wow.
I'm writing all this down, by the way.
Wow. Just listen to all your favorite bands. It's just one of those songs. It's very collegey and very, very studenty and but just beautifully crafted.
Nice.
And the guy's got such an extraordinary voice. It's just one of those soothing, beautiful voices that you can just listen to all day. And I never travel to see anybody play. I wait till they come to town and then I go. But I was on tour when they played over here in Scotland, and my wife and I flew to Berlin to see them. And we had a Dawes weekend in Berlin, and it was just magic. And there was only 150. I mean, they're on Letterman's show, and they do all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But they came over here, and there was 150 folk in the room, and they were just great, blinding stuff, you know. And then there's another rock band from Sweden called Avatarium.
I'm writing all this down because I never heard of these bands. Without you, I would never know them.
They're called Avatarium, and it's a kind of cross between Black Sabbath, Uriah Heep,
oh wow,
Rainbow Rising, but with a female singer.
Oh,
called Jenny Ann Smith, and the first album was written by the bass player from Candlemass, who were a doom metal band, but so it's all this kind of heavy, dark stuff with this angelic voice and melody and lyrics that just make you go, wow, that's really, really interesting. And and I liked it so much when I did the last Michael Schenker Fest album with Michael.
Right.
I had been listening to Avatarium, and it's all very. Her lyrics are all very sparkly and sort of crystally and futuristic, and are drawn a little bit from the past as well. And I wrote a song for the Schenkerfest album called "The Girl with the Stars in Her Eyes," because of just because I had been listening to them.
Wow.
And it just had that. It's got that same kind of sparkle, hopefully, lyrically and melodically, that the Avatarium were doing. And I managed to sort of take just a small essence of what they were doing and throw it at a Schenker song, and it seemed to work. People like it, which makes me happy.
That's the
I
bottom
like to be
line.
happy. I hate being miserable.
No, don't do that, man. This is what music is all about. I was thinking as you were going through all of this the current likes, along with, looking back a little ways, I tend to live like so many do of, I'm nearly 57, so many people do around my vintage. I tend to live anywhere from the mid 70s, musically wise, from the mid 70s, give or take, to, I don't know, 89, 90. I never got into the grunge thing. I mean, I get it, but it's not my favorite. Okay. Yeah. So from about 73, 4, 5, certainly 77 and 78, I was all of a sudden, coming into myself. I'm 12, I'm 13, I'm 14 years old, right through the end of the 80s, with the rock stuff. And for some reason why, I'm a little reluctant for times to sample, to listen, to have a taste of the new stuff. This is giving me impetus to do that, to really and truly do that. And I'm hoping that whomever has a look at this show, whether it's, dozens, hundreds, thousands, however many, that there'll be a good number of people who will do the same. Listening to what you're involved with. Certainly, because we're going to make sure people know about that.
Absolutely.
And B, some of these other things, because not for anything, I know you what now for exactly, there it is, kids. I know you what for a grand total of 57 minutes and 18 seconds right now, and counting. But you know what? I'm glad I do know you, Doogie, because boy, this is an enlightening musical kind of a deal here for me. Music speaks. You play music, you listen to music, you experience music, you feel music, but music speaks. And I want to hear some of these things speak. I want to hear more of your product, so to speak. I want to hear that speak. I want to hear, Lyra Lewis. I want to hear Dawes. I want to hear Avatarium speak, Is it going to be my favorite? I don't know. I don't know.
I heard it. That's right. Yeah. And that's the thing. Unless you know what you like, you don't know. I listen to stuff like I don't think I like that, but then I listen to them. You know what? That's pretty good. That was. I like the chord sequence. And I'm a musician as well, but I'm not as acclimated as you are, of course. I mean, because you're incredible. But your music career again spans so many decades, so many people, so many different bands that a lot of people know of.
Yeah. Wonderful.
The song, some of the songs on your new CD. You said the re-releases. Are a lot of them songs on other albums that you did, or they've just never been released?
No, the solo album, as yet untitled. Right, there it is.
Right.
Again,
the one with the eagle on the front with the two naked women.
Yeah, right.
The one from Storefront Music.
Those are all original songs that I had been writing with people that I never had time to record.
Right.
And when I left Yngwie's band, I had nothing to do, but I had all these songs, and so I just gathered the good and the great. I mean, it's got Neil Murray from Whitesnake playing on it, and Black Sabbath playing on it.
Nice.
It's got Derek Sherinian from Sons of Apollo and Alice Cooper. He was the keyboard player with Kiss for a while. He played with me in Yngwie's band.
Right.
It's got Pontus Norgren from Hammerfall on it. It's got Phil Hilborn. And Phil's one of the go-to session guys over here. He also played in the musical, the Queen musical as well. And and Patty Russo, actually. Now, Patty was Meatloaf's Paradise by the Dashboard Light girl for 14 years.
Wow.
And she was a great friend of mine. And Tony Carey, who plays keyboards on Rainbow Rising, I got him to give me an intro for the song Come Taste the Band, which is the first song on the album. So I just gathered all, and they all came along. I mean, I asked Richie if he would play in it, but he said he'd never heard of me before, you know. I don't know. Who is he? I don't remember him, you know. And how easily I'm forgotten. But so he didn't do that. He didn't do that. So it's just a good album, and I'm pleased that it's getting the kind of promotion, because it was kind of ignored at the time when it came out, and I think it was down to just, you know, you need the press and the promotion to promote these things, and I'm always up for doing it.
Right.
But I didn't get any the first time it was released.
Now this is the one that's on store4music.com.
That's right. That's correct. That's correct. You know, and
yet untitled.
You know,
Can they get that autographed by you, or do they have to send a special email to get it autographed by you?
Well, that I can't. That I couldn't tell you. That's a Store for Music thing.
Okay.
You know, if people wanted autographed ones, then I'm sure they can request it, and if it's requested enough, then Store for Music will send me a box up. I will happily sign them and send them back down to Store for Music.
No problem. We'll just have people ask. I know they're going to ask me. That's why I wanted to ask you.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. So, anything else, Doogie? I mean,
I think
you said it all, Doogie. I mean, you've almost said enough, but I mean, it's great. This is fantastic. I mean, again, just the insights, the information, the associations, the affiliations that you've been able to visit with us about, I think, just speak volumes, musically speaking, about, the times that you've been involved with music, the groups that you've been involved with, the persons, the personalities, the talents. It's just anybody, you know what, I got to say, and I teed it up like this. I put announcements out, promoting, come on and listen, or tune back in, and this is how. If you're at all, a rock and roller, you're gonna wanna not miss this this version of Docg Johnt and John T present. So yeah, this is great. You've said it all. Thank you so much, dude.
Great. Thank you so much, and thank you. I hope everybody remains safe.
Yes, you too.
We get to get back on the road and get to go to concerts as soon as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
And it's been a funny 18, 19 months.
Hey, Doogie, can I ask you if you have the time, or if you can do a sweeper for the station?
What does that mean?
Some of your songs, I can play them with your sweeper or whatever. So all you're just going to say is who you are, and you're listening to Docg and John T presents on Hamilton Radio. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
Whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name's Doogie White, and listen, whenever I'm in Hamilton, right, I always listen to Docg and JT. Do you know why? Because they play great music. Thank you. That's great.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. What a pleasure it was to talk to you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I'm now going off. My wife is busy making Thai food for me.
What is it?
Thai food.
Thai food. Okay.
Have you ever?
She was born in New Jersey.
Hey, whoa! Take it easy. Take it easy.
She was born in New Jersey and lived in Philadelphia.
And she likes Thai. Well, a lot of people do. I don't know.
Don't tell anybody.
Is this a new concoction? Have you had Thai food before?
No. Oh yes, but this is called a pho. PHO. I don't know.
Oh boy.
It has prawns in it. And
just enjoy. You know what? 30 years.
Hot chilies.
Enjoy.
Bird's eye chilies. Dear God, I'll be enjoying it in the morning. I'll need one of those Japanese toilets.
Watch out for the water jets. Watch out for the water jets. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
Doogie.
Take care.
Lots of pleasure, my friend.
All right. Bye-bye. Love and peace.
Oh, John, what another great show. I'll tell you, what a great guy, right? Wonderful.
I have to say, that's both shows this week have been absolutely home runs as far as I'm concerned, and I know we're going to have more coming up. Don't forget for Doogie White's yet to be titled album, it's store4music.com. Store4music.com. And is the other album, The Isle of Wrath with Long Shadows Down, that's at Frontiers, plural, frontiers.com. Check it out. And his Alcatraz with 2 Z's on the end, by the way. His Alcatraz album is going to be out in October. You can go to YouTube now and catch Turn of the Wheel, which is one track that he's pretty happy with, and the other one is called Sound of Deliverance. Look up Alcatraz Turn of the Wheel or Alcatraz Sword of Deliverance. Sword of Deliverance on YouTube. It's there. You can listen to it. You can dig it. And I tell you what, I myself am going to be looking into Lyra Lynn, Lera, Vera, but with an L, Lyra Lynn, Dawes, 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 and Avatarium, featuring that Jenny Ann Smith. He was saying it's such an angelic voice, So I want to check him out, and you know what? You probably should too. Just have a taste. Why not? It's music. It's great. It's what we do around here on the Docg G and John T Presents show. I'm glad, Gene. I'm glad we did this, pal. I really am.
Oh, yeah. And Ruta Lee will be hopefully with us next week. I'm going to try to make arrangements. We're going to do one show a week, guys, on this. Yep. So I'm just going to let everybody know that, because I think during the daytime, a lot of people are busy working and stuff in the East Coast. And, we get people every now and then that watch us. But
the good news is that we're going to have it reposted. People who are friends of mine on my personal pages will be able to see it. Plus, it's on the page. We're going to have it on radio, TV, movies, space.
That's our page.
All media. Yeah.
Yep. That's our page because that's, and I'll explain it to you this way. That page is for everything that we present.
Yeah.
Everything that everybody else presents. But at the same time, everybody that's looking for either work or something to go in the entertainment industry, this is the page for you. Now, everything's going to be posted. I'll be honest with you. It's got to be associated with the station in some way. That's the only kicker to this. Yes, you can post it, but it's got to be associated with the station in some way. If it's not, then it's not going to be there.
And again, just to be sure, everybody who wants to can find it. There are no spaces. Radio, TV, movies, and then one space, all media.
Or they can go to the Hamilton Radio Group. It's also there too.
So also there.
That's well.
I agree.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, folks. Thanks. Let's do this again next week, shall we? More on exactly who, what, and where soon.
When you're ready, guys. We'll talk to you later. Have a good day, guys.
Great weekend. See ya.
Bye-bye.